Hi, my name is Danielle Guthrie, and this is my informative speech about unsustainable agricultural practices and environmental issues. Can you imagine that if you don't leave your home, you'll starve to death? In the documentary Sun Come Up, the Carteret Islanders are facing starvation in the next few years. The reason they are facing starvation is because of the recent rise in sea level due to unsustainable agricultural practices. The main environmental issues that we are facing today are pollution, global warming, and climate change. If we do not act today, in the next 100 years, the Homo sapiens will become extinct. As a student who has taken multiple collegiate level courses at Indiana University, such as human biology, where I studied the food industry and the environment, the environmental science, where I volunteered at Hilltop Garden, and human variation, where I performed a proposal about the sociobiological effects of agricultural practices in Africa, I feel that I am well informed on the topic of environmental issues and sustainable practices. Furthermore, in a recent survey I conducted, I asked the audience what they thought was the biggest polluter. I listed the food industry, agricultural, cars, and fracking. Out of these choices, 8.33% picked the correct answer, agriculture, whereas the majority, 58.33% of the people picked cars. This is shocking because it indicates that our community is not necessarily well informed about environmental issues. To become informed on environmental issues, we need to start with the basics, renewable versus non-renewable resources. In the textbook Environment, non-renewable resources are natural resources that are present in limited supplies and are depleted by use, whereas renewable resources are replaced by natural processes and can be used forever. Non-renewable resources consist of coal, oil, and natural gases, or in other words, fossil fuels. Our methods of obtaining these non-renewable resources is called causing massive changes in our environment. These methods include surface mining and oil and gas drilling. Surface mining requires mountaintop removal, which involves deforestation and blasting the earth. Likewise, the most popular method to obtain oil and natural gases is fracking. Fracking is the use of high-powered water drills in the ocean and other bodies of water to gather natural gas and oil. Each of these methods impacts the environment in a negative way. For instance, mountaintop removal constitutes destruction of natural habitats, which increases the loss of biodiversity. The Rainforest Conservation Fund says that biodiversity of particular species making up an ecosystem determines its productivity, affects nutrient cycles and soil contents, and influences environmental conditions. In addition, fracking wastes water. It involves the use of 3 to 6 million tons of water per well. Not only does it waste water, but according to the editor Mark Lalania of Life Science, it can destroy drinking water supplies, pollute the air, contribute to greenhouse gases, and trigger earthquakes. These unsustainable practices of obtaining non-renewable resources not only ruins biomes, but it releases greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases. The most common gas that pollutes the earth is carbon dioxide. The EPA says that 81% of our pollution is due to carbon dioxide. These gases are released into the environment by burning fossil fuels, oil and gas extraction, and from agricultural and industrial practices. Each of these gases results in climate change, biodiversity loss, ozone depletion, and sea level rise. Unsustainable agricultural practices also influences the environment's outcome. These practices consist of monocropping and the overuse of water and pesticides. Monocropping is when farmers plant the same crop over and over in the same soil. This method allows pests to build up and depletes the soil's nutrients. Moreover, pesticides create superbugs and eventually leak into our water systems. On a more positive note, there is a solution to saving our environment. These methods include the use of renewable resources and sustainable agricultural practices. Renewable resources consist of different types of energy such as wind, solar, hydroelectric, biomass, tidal, and geothermal. These methods are extremely beneficial for the environment because most of them do not emit greenhouse gases, preserve biodiversity, and do not overuse land. Furthermore, Alternative agricultural practices also preserve the environment. These practices include rotating crops, intercropping, plantation of cover crops, and integrated pest management. These methods promote biodiversity, increase soil nutrients, and prevent overuse of pesticides. As a community, we can improve our environment not only on a worldwide scale, but at home too. On a worldwide scale, there needs to be public policy that requires farmers to use alternative farming methods. Fines applied to manufacturers and companies that overuse a dictated amount of carbon, and educate our children about our environmental issues. Some at-home practices include composting food to reduce waste and replenish nutrients in the soil, plant a garden, recycle, and use a gray water system, or in other words, reuse water from sinks and showers, and install solar panels and buy locally. After learning the basics of environmental issues, such as the difference between non-renewable and renewable resources, unsustainable versus sustainable agricultural practices, and methods of preserving the environment worldwide or at home, would you change your ways? Al Gore, Nobel Prize Peace winner for his film The Inconvenient Truth, once said, "It is up to you to change and advocate for your home, because if you do not take action, there will no longer be an earth to call home."